Hi everyone, Radhe Radhe. So I'm going to India in just over 2 weeks. I can't believe it. Going after 4.5 years. I'm so excited. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be so fun. I can't wait. Um, yeah, and okay. So I want to share something. If you want, as usual, to get straight to the verse, you can scroll to the right where the screen starts being visible. I have been contemplating since last night about how our expectations of people creates people. I mean, it doesn't create people. People are who they are, but we bring out different parts of people based on our expectation of people. So when we really love somebody or we really trust somebody and we just expect, not we expect things from them as in we expect them to do things for us, not that way, but when we expect that the person is going to be trustworthy or the person is going to be good, then we bring that out in them. And there have been apparently studies in school where kids have been like, if kids are expected, the teacher set expectations of the kids that they're going to do well, then they're much more likely to do well, the same kids, versus if the teachers expect that they're not going to do well. So our expectations, it's kind of like law of attraction as well, but our expectation of people changes or brings out different aspects of them. So it's the same thing with love as well. Like if I feel irritated at somebody, if I'm looking at somebody and I feel irritated every time I see them, then they are much more likely to do things that irritate me next time. But if I look at them with absolute love, and if I find a way to do that, because if I'm irritated, I'm irritated. Like I don't know how to necessarily feel love for them, but if I can manage to access that somehow, in some way within myself, then I would be able to create a different kind of dynamic with a person, because I've seen that happen, like different people communicating with the same person. They have a completely different dynamic with that person than I do, because I tend to get irritated and I'm like, okay, how do I find that love within myself for this person so that when this person talks to me, it's kind of similar to boundary setting. But it's more like love boundary setting, if that's a thing. Yeah, so it was a pretty good insight, pretty good understanding that I had last night, and I was like, okay, so I don't know yet how to do it, but it is a beautiful path to know that it can be done, or to have this very clear intention. I'm going to figure out how to do it. I don't have all the answers yet, but I'm committed to figuring this out. So yeah, that was a pretty good thing that I wanted to share with you. Okay, so we're going to do chapter 2, verse 35 today. And in this verse, he continues, Bhagavan Sri Krishna continues to talk about how it'll cause infamy if he leaves the battlefield now. So the translation is, the great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear, and thus they will consider you insignificant. So there is a lot that Sri Krishna talks about infamy. Like in the previous verse or previous to previous verse, he talked about akirti. Kirti means fame. So he talked a lot about akirti. And he said that's a significant thing. In the world that we currently live in, it almost doesn't matter. So it does matter, of course. Like we don't want to be infamous. We want to be famous for good things. We want to be respected. But that respect does not really matter. What matters in our current world is that we are good people, and it doesn't matter what people think, right? That's how we live our life. So when I read these kinds of things, it kind of makes me like, oh, who cares? Or something. Like it gives me a feeling of like, why does this matter? I don't understand. I'm not resonating with this so much. That's how I feel when I read these. But okay, I mean, he was using the way I can possibly understand. I don't know. I don't claim to understand this, but the way I can possibly understand it is that in that time, that fame mattered a lot and the reputation mattered a lot. So Krishna was only using those tools to help encourage Arjun to fight. So maybe someday, as I listen more and more to people speaking about the Gita, I will understand more about why it matters what people think. Because in my life, the way I live my life, I mean, yeah, it does matter, of course, reputation matters, but I mean, for the most part, it doesn't. Like, I have lived my life in many situations, in many places where I knew that I would get a bad reputation and I didn't really care because I knew that I was doing the right thing. So, okay. So let's sing this. भयाद्रणादुपरन्तं मन्स्यन्ते त्वामहारथा येषा च त्वं बहुमतो भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम्. So bhayadranāduparantam, the first one is out of fear. If you run is like the battlefield. So if you run, like if you leave the battlefield, uparantam sees, basically out of fear. If you leave the battlefield, they will think you've left out of fear, basically. So it's not that if you leave out of fear they will think, which will come later on. Mamsyante tvamaharatha. Mamsyante, they will consider you one of the great generals. People who consider you one of the great generals now will consider that you left out of the battlefield out of fear. I think that would make sense. Yesham cha tvam bahumato. Yesham, for whom, cha tvam, also tum, you, bahumata, in great estimation. So those great generals for whom you are in great estimation, bhutva yasyasi laghavam. Bhutva, having been, you have been in great estimation for those great generals, you will decrease in value. So those great generals for whom you are in great estimation now, you will decrease in value and they will think that you ran from the battlefield out of fear. Okay, so let's read Swami Mukundanand's one. The great generals who hold you in high esteem will think that you fled from the battlefield out of fear, and thus they will lose their respect for you. Okay. Yeah, so that is verse 35. We will do verse 36 tomorrow. I don't know why I'm thinking, is there something else? I'm trying to remember if there's something else, but I think I'm done. Okay, so we'll see you tomorrow for verse 36. Wish you a phenomenally beautiful day. Radhe Radhe.